Say no to red. Unfortunately for Arsenal, that meant we were coming out of the cup again. Another season, another defeat. This time against Manchester United at home. We're going to talk a lot about that and Arsenal's recent form. And of course, we have the manager merry-go-round, which keeps on spinning. West Ham and Everton appointing new managers. Graham Potter is back in the hot seat. And David Moyes has come back home. Asterix. Depends who you ask. We're going to talk about that and what's coming up in the title race in this episode of One Kick for Glory. I'm joined as always by Craig and Matthew. And we're going to start off, no surprise really, with that awful game at the Emirates between Arsenal and Manchester United. I sigh a lot when it comes to Arsenal this season. I feel like there's a lot that can be said. And we're going to take our time talking about this because there's a lot of thoughts, feelings, and emotion in the fan base, understandably so. But first off, Craig, I want to get your thoughts on the game against Man United in the FA Cup.
Poor first half, better second half. Simple as that. Man United were battering us left, right, centre. They were playing better football when it was 11v11. They were physical. They gave us no space. I felt Harry Maguire had one of his best games in United shirt in a long time. Like, the game was really solid. And to be fair, that wasn't a penalty. That the Havertz one was a very soft penalty, to be fair. It was a very soft one. But other than that, he had a great game. United played very well. And in hindsight, if we score our penalty to win the game, we wouldn't be talking about penalty shootouts. We wouldn't be talking about red cards and whatever. We would be talking about winning the game. And if Havertz scored his chance as well, we'd have won the game. But I feel that at the moment, the players look tired to me. They look really tired. Like, they haven't had a rest in a while. Not making excuses for them, but the team really needs some bodies right now to help them out. I would say, just to give them that extra rest. Like Odegaard, the last couple of games, it looks like it's off the boil. Looks tired. Same could say for Havertz as well. Doesn't look the same. Looks very jaded, and now he's going to play more games now because Jesus is out injured now. So if I was the board and listen to me now on this camera, I would say try and give the manager some money to bring some players in January, because if we don't bring in players now, we could slip down the table.
Well, I don't think we'll slip down the table, but it's definitely been tough in terms of the performances that we're seeing. It's just been a bit of a strange season, I think, for Arsenal overall. I think you look at how last season ended and literally missing out on the league by a couple of points. A couple of results swinging here or there would have changed the outcome dramatically. You go into the summer and obviously a lot of optimism and hope. And then we bring in 4 players. One of them gets injured in his first training session. The other one scores a wonder goal against Man City and is barely seen. The other one can't touch pitch for love nor money. It's the goalkeeper Neto. And the other one in Raheem Sterling just looks like Raheem is still in Jamaica. Like, where's Raheem Sterling? Like, can he come to the pitch? And there's been a lot of talk about that, and also the inactivity from Arsenal in the window so far, because I think prior to Saka's injury, we needed some reinforcements. It's been nothing that we've seen on the surface. But how much do you feel like the kind of inactivity for you, Matthew, how much do you think that's been motivated by the summer's business, and how much do you think Arsenal need to do now to really kind of keep this momentum going for the season?
I think in the first point we're going off, I think we all said that in the summer, a lot of the big teams didn't really do that much in the way of business. But maybe us, because we essentially signed 2 separate teams and then getting a new manager, which means he was signing this whole new thing with his whole new bunch of players. We still made a few signings here and there, just no one marquee. Liverpool didn't do anyone marquee. Man United doing anyone marquee. Man City essentially bought someone back, in someone like Gundogan and stuff like that. I think they took on Kovacic that time, I don't know, but they didn't sign anyone big. Now for you guys, 2 points. First season, it was that season where you were just blitzing, maybe about 5 points.
And then we had Saliba's injury and it all fell apart.
And it also fell apart, and now it's 2 points, which for you, you're looking at that. If I'm a fan or if I'm the club or I'm the board, I'm thinking like, all right, we bought in Havertz, we bought in Declan Rice, and I don't know who else we bought in.
Trossard that season.
And Trossard as well. Look how much closer we're getting. Neither of them necessarily is the one that's putting the ball in the back of the net and getting those 15 goals that's going to help us fire towards the league, which is essentially what you're missing. Logic says that's the kind of thing that you were missing. Because as much as you want to try and rely and say and have faith in Gabriel Jesus, with all due respect, you can't play Palace every single game. because that's all he seems to score against. And yes, no, he's good. He does his work off the wings and this and that. But look at his time at Man City. Yeah, right. Yes, he was a good team member, good squad player. But they won in spite of him, not because of him. At the end of the day, they still had a grower up front. And even when he was ever meant to deputise, put it this way, they wouldn't have needed Haaland if he was performing, which was, which is the harsh truth. I'm not saying he's necessarily a bad player. There was a point in my life where I would have happily had someone like him to build and that to lead that front line. I don't think he can lead the front line. I just don't think he can lead your front line, which is hard from a guy who's won trophies left, right, and centre out of the club for years, And now it seems now you've lost your boy in Saka, and this has always been the thing with you guys where it was always going to be a much concern when he gets injured because he works so hard, he plays so much. And that's just the Arsenal games. Let's look at the England games. All right, there's ones he doesn't need to play and shouldn't be playing in, but he plays a bloody lot at the point where he's one of England's top 3 players. Some people may even put him at number 1. And then he's probably your best player right now. Every single game, every other game he's playing. A lot of the games he doesn't necessarily need to play. Your squad, if you're a club that's serious for fighting on all these fronts, League Cup, FA Cup, Premier League, Champions League, there are going to be times where it's like, this guy is going to need a rest. We need to protect this guy. We expect it from England. We can't then not go ahead and make the same mistakes. So it's always been a case of someone needs to come in and deputise. Not saying not necessarily going to be like him or be as good as him, but to someone to deputise. To then have that guy in front who's going to put problems between the six. If you look at the clubs you're going against, like your Liverpool, they have a guy who can go with the six, and that's Salah. All right, City are faltering right now, but they still have Haaland who can turn it on the switch just like that. And let's look at the teams, even Chelsea with Jackson, all right, he's stuttering right now, but we know that he can do a job. And then there's clubs that are not even in the title picture in say of like, I'm not going to say a name, but Isak, who's firing right now, he's a guy who's firing on the six, who's potentially firing at the table. Let's look at a team that are in the top 4 right now in the conversation, Nottingham Forest. Chris Wood. Who thought big, burly Chris Wood would be up there getting in the goals? But it makes my point. And they're only behind you on goal difference. Every other time he's scoring. So for you guys, you're definitely feeling the effects from the window where you didn't capitalize on necessarily what you got. Don't get me wrong, you got some good additions, but not what you needed to move to the next level.
I agree.
And now you come to a point now where January, where it is not impossible, but difficult to find, because you only got, 4 weeks? Some of you got like 3 or 4 months. To nail down that thing and be like, all right, this is the guy we're going to get, and we're going to try it. Boom, there we go. So something you're going to need to do, you need to at least get someone who's confident in front of goal. Because at the moment, a lot of your guys, your best player in front of goal is currently on the hospital bed.
No, it's Kai Havertz. This season, he scored the most goals.
Your best goal scorer is currently in the hospital bed.
Facts.
I done told you.
All right, that's fine. I'll allow it. But anyway, moving on. So then with that being said, I guess then, Craig, the big question then is, who do Arsenal to target? Because there's lots of names people are swirling out around the place, and we know that clubs are going to probably put their prices up. If you're, we can't say Edo anymore, if you're Jason Nato, who's the temporary director of football, who do you look to target to bring in?
2 or 3 players.
Give me some names. Or at least if we're thinking as a striker, thinking of the options that I don't say options, thinking of the players that are about that you think, okay, this is a guy who can come in with how we're playing right now, can just lift not just the club but lift the fans. Who's the name? Or names that you think
Brad McBurmer from Brentford. I think he would lift the club. I think Semenyo was all from Bournemouth. He's the type of flair. He's got that flair about him. He could just lift the club. There's a few. I would say if we had a dream signing, I would say Gokeres, but he ain't gonna come till the summer if we were gonna go for him. I like Martinez from Inter Milan. I don't know what's his release clause and how much he has got. I think he's got like 2 years left on his contract, or maybe a year or so left on his contract. Someone like that, he would definitely lift the club as well. Someone like that. I think who else would be available that we could get? I like the striker at Ipswich, the lap. I think he will score goals in our team because we know how we create chances. He will score. Well, I don't know how much he will cost as well. He will cost a bit as well because they would demand top dollar for him as well.
And they only just brought him in the summer.
So they'll want a healthy profit on there. And they wouldn't want to sell because they're most likely going to gonna battle relegation and
Right,
they're
so
trying to stay
whatever.
up in the league, innit? So, but if we could go for someone like him, young, English, you know, someone who could just come in, you know, maybe rotate him and Havertz and see and maybe because I want Isak's my dream signing, but I know deep down Arsenal are not gonna spend 150 million on one player. They won't do it.
It's not just that; it's also Newcastle don't need to sell him.
That's
And
true.
with what they're trying to do this season, why would they? You know, they're potentially going to be in the cup final to win their first trophy in a long time.
Yeah.
At our expense. They're potentially going to make a late run for Europe. Like, I see no reason why they would want to sell their best player. Considering that Callum Wilson's still not back fully fit.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
And if we were to bid from this window, we say if they were successful, they're gonna have to find another striker, and then it's gonna be difficult. Imagine, like, say it was like towards the end of the transfer window, and we had little murmurs that he's not happy and wants to leave, and we go for a bid. So we put a cheeky bid in from and Newcastle accept it. They're gonna have to find a replacement. That person has to settle down in the league. What striker are they gonna find in the last say it's the last week of the transfer window or the last 3 days left on deadline day, for example, and they have to look for someone on deadline day to find. Who are they gonna find?
So
It's difficult. It's very difficult. So I think that would be a summer transfer, if anything. If it depends on Newcastle finish, they win something this season, he might want to stay, and he's happy in Newcastle. He's not unhappy. He just wants to match his ambitions of winning trophies and getting Champions League football. We could offer him Champions League football.
We could. But
Again.
Newcastle have been there before, so they would feel, I mean, right now they're in 5th. They would feel like they're in a good position. They could make top 4. Maybe at the expense of Chelsea, maybe at the expense of Forest, who knows? Or maybe at the expense of Arsenal if it really collapses, as some people think could happen. But I do think that there is definitely work to be done, and we need to look into what kind of smart signings we can make. Because I know there's been talk, not talk, but fans have brought up names like Evan Ferguson. He doesn't really get a look in at Brighton. Very high potential, a player that I think would fit in how we play football right now. Big tall striker, got a good centre pace, good finisher, really good finisher.
Better than Havertz.
He's a striker. So I think that would go a long way. Another option we've heard banded about a little bit is Victor Osimhen. Because he has that interesting deal with Galatasaray. If a right club comes in, he'll make a move. So I think that's one they should explore at least. Knock on the door and say, look, we want to bring you to the Premier League.
How much you got? 58 million, isn't it? They want for a minute, or was it 60?
I think the
68?
price might get cut down because they messed around his previous transfer in the summer. So I think that'd be a cheaper deal. I don't know how much it'll be, but I think it'll be a lot less than the 80, 90 you're looking at for players like other players that we might want to look
But
at.
if that's the case, we should try and do a deal for him, man, if we can. Only thing, how much would he make him the top earner?
I wouldn't make him the top earner. I would make him
Or second highest?
3rd.
Behind who?
Because we're going to renew
Odegaard.
Saka and Saliba.
Saka sleep, yeah.
So he can't be top earner because that's just going to push the wage bill way up.
Who's the highest earner at Arsenal? Havertz, isn't it?
I don't know.
Havertz or Saka must be one of those. two.
Havertz is the top earner at Arsenal. Havertz earns the most. I think the captain owns. I think Odegaard's the second or third highest owner at the club.
Wait, are Galatasaray in the Champions League?
Europa.
Europa. That's another pool right there. He'll go straight into the Champions League.
Yeah, so according to this website, Havertz is top, and then it's Jesus, Rice, Odegaard, Partey, and Saka. And then Saliba, Martinelli behind them.
How much is Martinelli on?
I don't go by these numbers because I don't know what's real and what's not real, but he's on good money.
Good money.
They're all on good money.
Give me half of that money, I'd do a better job than him, man.
But yeah, I mean, so just going back to the game, obviously, another cup competition, another kind of stuttering performance. We saw against Newcastle, finishing has been an issue. I don't think anyone can be, and I know that because I'm kind of a bit torn with like the sort of general sentiment around the club right now. On the one hand, I feel the frustration of the fans in terms of what we're serving up. So I was there for the Ipswich game, and it was very boring to look at. A lot of fans around me were just like, this is pathetic. What are we doing? Like, this is the championship team. We should be doing way better. You know what I mean? Like, senior promoted team should be doing a lot better. I was quite impressed because they had nothing. They had the chance at the kickoff, and then they had a couple of little flurries in the second half, but they had nothing. We dominated the game. And it's one of the things where I feel like gets lost in the conversation about Arsenal. We don't give teams much. Problem is, the other way,
We don't score much.
don't score much, and we're not attacking in a way that's exciting. 2022-23, you said, Matthew, that's the season when everyone was like, oh, Ooh, who's this team?
blowing teams away
Blowing teams away.
before half time.
Now, obviously, the difference now is that teams play differently against us. They sit back more. But last season, I think we had a lot more energy to us going forward as well compared to this year. This year just feels a lot slower. So I think the manager needs to figure out what it is. It is the balance with the midfielders and with the front three to get that firing again. Because I think we're just too defensively conservative. And I feel like this first season when we didn't have Declan Rice, our issue was getting countered on by other teams.
Yeah.
It cost us in some matches, like the Villa game and others. Man City game, famously, when Partey got left behind. Should have been left in Manchester after that match. And then, you flip forward, we get Declan Rice. So you got a player that can cover the distances. And yet this season, we've got so many players that are behind the ball all the time. I feel like you could just let the team loose and just rely on the fact you got Rice, you got Gabriel, you got Saliba, the guys that are fine with going into runs and duels with players.
Yeah.
But then chance creation and taking it. Like, where do we go from here with what you're seeing?
We need someone who can put the ball in the back. Like I like the strikers. I like strikers who take shots from far out. Not all the time, but in a match, if they have a chance to take a shot. You can deflect with someone like Gabriel yesterday. Gabriel was like a striker for us today.
Yeah,
like his goal, he turned, bang, hit the shot straight away, bottom corner, hit off the lip, goal. We don't take shots outside the box. The old Arsenal, you remember the old Arsenal, like Rosicky, and then man, they would take shots out the box.
Have a crack from
Pozzolo
like
would take a shot.
35 yards.
Patrick
Ping,
Vieira would
ping,
take a shot
ping.
from outside the box. Then Henry would take 30 yards, don't take a shot outside the box. We don't have players who do that anymore. We're too pretty. We want to do the pass, and try and walk the ball in the back of the net. When you play against teams like Ipswich, for example, yeah, they got low blocks, innit? Every team play against us at home, they're low block teams, innit? They don't want to attack us. They know if teams don't low block against us, we'll batter them every game. They don't do that against us because they know they get battered, innit? Like, but if teams like, if you watch how teams play against us, like even the Brentford game, we're very fortunate to win that game. Because Brentford went in front, then we got the equaliser. They missed a chance. They got David Moyes made a top class save. I remember that save when it was going in the bottom court, going in the net.
Really good
clawed
save.
it out. If that had gone in, 2-0 game over. Brentford would just shut up shop and win the game. So it's all about hindsight as well. I feel that sometimes in games we need to be more clever. Like I remember I watched some great attacking Arsenal teams, and this is not a very great one to watch. We have most possession in most games, especially at home. We have the most possession. Love to show for it. 2 seasons ago, we were playing great football. Kind of by half time, we were 3 or 4-0 up. Last season as well, after the Dubai break, we were bashing teams left. Like we battered Burnley, battered West Ham, battered Sheffield United. I know they're all relegation candidate teams. Well, not West Ham. West Ham were in the Europa Conference or Europa League. But other teams were near the bottom. We were battering teams left and right. We didn't care. We were ruthless. I want to see that Arsenal back again. That's the Arsenal I want to see. Like, what do you think of Mikel Mourinho by any chance? Like, what do you think about him?
Man.
I think that it's one of those players where, because of how we're performing, you're not really seeing the value. Like, you don't really notice him a lot in games. Unless he be in the box popping up headers and stuff. You don't notice him. So I think the best qualities of his game is not really benefiting us that well.
Yeah.
And I think in many ways, the thing I think they brought him in to do is be a player that can also compete in midfield. So they do want him for his passing. They do want him for his height, his ability to just get into tackles. Because if you look at the stats and the numbers, duels-wise and that, he's quite high up. Tackles, recoveries, duels, he's quite high up.
Yeah.
The problem is, and this is kind of where I feel like the team's identity feels not lost, but a bit muddled. Because a lot of the fans that are more popular on social media, the younger ones, they don't really know much of the proper Wenger football. They don't know it. They've heard of it from their older brothers or their parents. They don't know it.
Of course.
So for them, it's just like all they've known is Emery ball and Haram ball, as we call it, Arteta ball, and maybe the back end of Wenger, the bad years. They don't really know the best,
the
right?
history, no.
Those of us that know the champagne football, that also know the Graham era as well, we have a different perspective on things. And I think this current Arsenal team is sort of flickering between like the best of George Graham era and the worst of Arsene Wenger era in the nicest possible way that I can put it. Because going forward, the passing patterns around the box, that's the worst of Arsene Wenger. Defensively, it's the best of George Graham. And the problem is we need that middle ground because most people want Wenger ball and it ain't there.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. So when you look at players like Marino, he wouldn't get into any Wenger side.
Definitely not. 100%.
He wouldn't get into any of them, which says a lot.
So another question I want to ask you then. Do you feel that if Arsene Wenger, yeah, the Arsene Wenger won the double and invincible. If the 2 seasons when we were top of the league for a long time, and last season, do you think he would have won the league with that squad that he had the last 2 seasons, with that squad they had, the peak Wenger? I'm not talking about the Wenger, the bad Wenger, I'm talking about the Wenger, the good Wenger. Do you?
Like 2004, 5, 6 kind of period.
Yeah, that Wenger, yeah, the one at Champions League final, invincible, FA Cup final, 98 season, 2001-2 season, that Wenger.
Does he win us the league in those 2 seasons?
Yeah.
I think so.
I agree.
And the main reason why is because if you think about the year after we sold Henry, we should have won the league. In 07, 08.
That was Eduardo season, wasn't it?
injury, and but for no investment, in January, it all fell apart. You think 2010 season, we competed for a bit.
Yeah.
2016 with Leicester. 08, 09, we were top for a while, and then we fell apart post-Christmas.
Yeah.
People forget, this is the problem with the banter era. People just feel like we were rubbish. We weren't rubbish, we were close. We were the nearly men for too many seasons. And then, so yeah, I think he would have gotten us over the line because he just has a way of getting a lot out of players. I think the big thing with Arteta, which is missing right now, is that we're just too conservative. We're too safe. I don't want to see no more Tory football at Arsenal, man. You know what I mean? Bring me some chaos.
But the thing I don't like as well, yeah, like I don't want to dig him out, yeah, 'cause I like Martinelli, innit? But he's too, nowadays, before Martinelli, he used to run the ball. He used to make long runs. He used to do like, nowadays he gets the ball, pass it back, go forward, pass it back. A lot of the players go back and back. And I feel like if you're an attacking player, yeah, I play like you're an attacking player, you need to make them penetrating passes, like you know what I mean. Make them pass into the striker, hold it up, make another run, make diagonal, just make runs into the box and get goals.
But what's making him do that?
The manager.
I don't think it's just manager. I think it's the player. I think there's probably a part of him who doesn't want to give the ball away. He's very risk averse, which doesn't help. I don't think the manager is telling him to not attack because Jorginho said in a podcast that that's not the case. I think what happens is that we don't want to lose the ball. So as a winger, because of how he likes to dribble and cut inside, I think it's very risky and he's not as effective as he is this season as he was a couple of years ago. So we get it on the wing and it's like, okay, I could try cut inside and make something happen, but I might lose the ball. So let me just play it simple. So I think that's what's gone wrong.
But I think he's a centre forward because yesterday he was making runs like as a centre forward, and he was running past defenders like it was no joke.
I think his last 2 matches, he's played better than he has played for a while. Better. So the bar wasn't very high.
Do you think it's worth? You got the big game on the week, big one again in the week.
Yeah.
Is it worth? You got no Jesus.
Yeah.
You got Havertz is always a risky ploy trying it there. Is it worth for the sake of this big game coming up? Because get some points on the board and giving it to your rivals. Do you think it's worth trying? Even if it's for 25 minutes.
Put him through the middle.
Put him through. For 25
I
minutes.
honestly thought he was playing through the middle. You know why? He got the pace. His pace is electrifying. I think he's better as a number 9.
What have you got to lose? Really and truly,
I think I'll play Stern on the right, Trossard on the left, and him through the middle, and all 3 of them can interchange position. I wouldn't have him like there for the whole game. No. You're a striker today, but you can rotate with Jesus. You can with Sterling. You can rotate with Trossard. You 3 rotate and get them havoc. I think he'll score a lot of goals in that game.
It's way.
I think it's worth looking into. I just don't. It's one of those ones with Havertz. I know he's missed a lot of chances, but sometimes you want to just get a player out there as soon as possible to just dust that off and just get back into the rhythm of things. But yeah, I mean, we could say a lot about Arsenal. I think we're gonna.
Yeah.
There's a lot more we could say. There's not more we want to go further. I mean, obviously, we talked about transfers. We talked about the transfer market. I think just as a final thing on Arsenal before we move on to the managers and wrap up. I know that he's probably got a lot of goodwill. I'll throw this to you, Matthew. At what point do you feel like there will be pressure coming on him? Because I know he said in pre-season that the expectation this season is for us to win a trophy. And right now, as much as this season feels worse for Arsenal fans than it is, we still have the second leg of the Carabao Cup. It's not impossible to beat Newcastle away. It's not impossible. It's been difficult, but not impossible. We are 3rd in the Champions League new group thing, which means we're going to qualify in the top 8, which means we don't face we may as well avoid some big teams, which is good. We're 2nd in the league, 6 points behind Liverpool. They've still got a game in hand, but anything can happen. But do you think that from the ownership perspective, much as they are happy with the progress, do you feel like they might start looking at him and thinking, okay, is there more to come? Is it an issue that we've not quite got the right pieces to the puzzle? Or is the man not able to take us over the line? And it's a fair question to ask.
It's a very fair question. He's living off of his FA Cup success, which, with all due respect, was 5 years ago. Including a couple of Community Shields and progress in the last 2 seasons, I think has done him a massive favour. Second by 5 points and then second by 2 points. Logic says he's going up every single time. So you're looking at it thinking this year, this is a year that something is going to happen. Granted, and your main rivals ain't cooking right now. At the moment, they ain't cooking. That 8-0 against Salford might just be the only thing they need. And we're business as usual. Thank you, by the way, Salford. So he's got, they're very patient and he's had a lot of time to try and build the squad that he wants. He's very much turned the squad from when he first arrived to what it is now. It's almost a completely different team with some big marquee guys. You kind of start, he's got put in there. So as owners, you don't want to, what you don't want to do is like the current regime is keep someone in for too much longer to damage their stock to the point that they were hounded out. Mikel Arteta, for all that has gone wrong so far, there's potential and there's promise there with him. Yeah, it has to be said. It is there for him. But all that has to be said that football is a fickle world, or more fickle than it ever has, with a lot of fans demanding a lot of things very, very quickly. They want to be seen to be not just winning, but winning well and being properly in the space to compete for trophies. Despite the fact that on all 4 grounds, bar the FA Cup, you're still competing there and thereabouts on 3 fronts. But the trouble is that you're not in the driving seat. You're not the ones in control. You're relying on external factors to things to get better, which for big teams doesn't happen. Big teams, they create their own luck. They create their own fortune. They make sure that they're at the forefront to be able to, go out there and compete. And he's lucky. Previous owner of the regime, look at our previous owner. Look what he would do. He'd call anyone at the point when he got bored. He called Mourinho twice. And that was after winning. He called Conte. No, not Conte. Yeah, he called Conte after winning back-to-back trophies. He got rid of Ancelotti after, and look what he's doing at Real Madrid right now. That was a guy who wasn't afraid. He called the guy who won his first Champions League. Well, he was there for about 6-7 months. Wasn't doing it in the Premier League. Goodbye, done. Like, count yourself lucky that we're not back in those old regimes anymore, where it's just like, you ain't doing it for me, so you're gone. Let's be real. If Abramovich was in charge of you guys, he'd be long gone.
That's true.
He would be long gone, but that's not necessarily your style of doing things. But the question is asked is that they're going to look at it and be like, you've given a lot of money, you're doing, and the fans, the voices are getting louder and louder. There's a pocket of Mikel out that's it's small, but it's there. It's a problem that keeps showing up. So you're going to want to be like, they have to show some, for all the progress that he's made, all the numbers, all the stats, and the improvement, and defensively, you've been absolutely amazing. All right, going forward and getting the goals has been hard, but we'll get round to that. You're gonna want to see. They're gonna want to see it. I'm sure you guys and other gooners as well. You've been patiently waiting another 5 years. It's been 21 years since the last Premier League. You're gonna be wanting for something. So something has to be done. Something has to be shown for all that progress in the stadium, and give the stadium the glory and the silverware that's wanting for it. So something needs to be done. It really does.
Something needs to be done indeed. And we're going to move on to 2 clubs that got some stuff done. First off, let's start off with Everton. David Moyes is back. What do you think about that, Craig?
Club legend. He kept them up a lot. Brought on some great players like Wayne Rooney. A lot of people don't give him the credit for bringing through Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney was a generational talent. Brought him through, nurtured him. Got the big money move to Man United. Did very well at United. And club legend at United as well. He done very well there. Didn't work out from at Man United. David Moyes went to Sunderland first.
Yeah.
No, Sociedad. Then he went to Sociedad. I think he went to Spain, and then that didn't really work out very well. Then he went to I think he went to West Ham. No, Sunderland. Sunderland. Then he went to West Ham. First spell, kept them up. Then he left. Then he came back. I went back to West Ham again. Done a great job. I think West Ham fans are very ungrateful for the job he did at West Ham. He won them a European trophy, and they still wanted his blood. So sometimes fans have got to be careful what they wish for, because he did a great job at West Ham, won them a trophy, I know the football was not the great football that they wanted to see, but if I had a manager that won me a trophy, I'd be grateful. A lot of these players in our West Ham team will never win a trophy again in their career, most likely.
Probably not.
Like example, Mikel Antonio, that's an example. Mikel Antonio, for example, he had opportunity, won a trophy at West Ham, or speed recovery and all that. But other clubs, he didn't win trophies at other clubs, so he did a good job there. I think David Moyes will keep them up this season. If he's backed with money, he'll get the right players that needed in to push up the table. And no more relegation battles for Everton, I feel. If he can get the right players in. He might have to get rid of a few here and there, tweak the squad a bit, but he's got a good goalkeeper in Jordan Pickford.
Yep.
He seems to be Superman this season. I think he's been the best goalkeeper for them this season in the league.
Yeah, he's been really done. He's had a really good season.
You got Seamus Coleman, a good workman, like defender, works his socks off, gives you a 8 out of 10 every week. You got players like Brathwaite, a young defender, doing quite well. Didn't get his move in the summer, but he'll get his move eventually. Decore, good player. You got Ismail Assar. Not Ismail Assar, not Ismail Assar. Ismail, what's his name? I get the... NDI. No, there's another one.
I know who you mean.
Assar's the one who plays for Crystal Palace.
I know who you mean, but I can't...
Gissa Gay.
Yeah.
He's a good player for them. Calvert-Lewin. They've got a good team. They've got... I like the other guy, Dwight McNeil. He's got a good shot on him. He can score goals as well. They got Jack Harrison. They got a good team. They got some good players. So all they need to do is just rebuild the squad a little bit, get a decent striker in to help out Calvert-Lewin and whatever, help get a stronger defence, and they can definitely push up the table between now and the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got work to be done, and they can definitely do it. I guess for you, Matthew, what do you think in terms of David Moyes coming back and how it's going to pan out?
I did question the decision originally, but when I saw there was David Moyes coming back, I thought, okay, this makes a little bit more sense. This is since he's left, I don't think many managers have come in and really steady the ship like he did. All right, granted, there are managers who got better football, but he made them steady. He made them Premier League 30 for how many years? There was never any kind of question of them being relegated. If anything, there was questions of them going towards Europe. And he had genuinely a decent squad on him when they were competing in the Premier League. I was watching Premier League years earlier, and he had some good players that were playing, for the club. Getting them remaining competitive, get a good win here and there during the season. Players like PNR, players like Billy Netinov, players like Nikita Jelavic, your manager.
Yeah,
for example, Tim Howard, Tim Cahill. There was a hard, it was a hard working squad, and I think he's a guy who likes hard working players. Hence why he was given the United job. Didn't work out, obviously, but he likes hard working players. And you know what? Should they survive? Which I believe with him, I think they will, because he brings a certain aura of him to Everton. He's there for 10, 11 years. Made him a good, solid Premier League club. It's going to be good. You know what? Keep them up. And next season, they can properly push with this guy, because more than likely, he's probably still going to be there to welcome him a new stadium, a new generation, give him a chance to really push on and get in the players, kind of influence that kind of he wants. So it's like David Moyes Everton 2.0 in a whole brand new stadium, everything's clean, everything's fresh, everything's new. So in one, it's romantic in a way. He's the best manager. He's the only candidate manager who's gonna say goodbye to the old Goodison. It had to be him. It just had to be him. And imagine coming in next season, Premier League club. Let's say they finish 13th, 12th, which is possible. It's doable. And to then bring in, a new generation of Everton. Let's be there. Let's say he's there for 1-2 years. Get him to a place of solidarity and then bring in someone young and exciting. Young, exciting, and proven. This could work out really well for them. It really, really could, but they have to push up, get some results. They got a good result for the FA Cup recently as well, which is always a good way to start. So they can kick on. Everton could be all right. They could be all right.
And then just to stick on that point, obviously we're going to refer to the man, Mr. Potter, who's taken over. Where's Graham Potter? West Ham. Over at West Ham. So that's sort of jobs, kind of like a sort of job shop, but not really. What's your thoughts, Matthew, to start off with on how he's going to fare? He's obviously already lost his first game. Tricky one against Villa, but lost that. But how do you think he's going to fare as the new West Ham manager?
Potter strikes back. It's the cursed child all over again. But definitely Hallows resulted in him getting killed at Chelsea. He revived himself at cursed child. It's a good... West Ham is that kind of good, like, builder club where they're not Galactico level. We're never going to be Galactico level, but I think they know that. And I think someone with a manager like Potter, they're going to be a little bit more patient with him and allow him to do what he wants to do. A club that thrives itself on young talent and wants to bring in, like, particularly, like you say, like English talent. So it's a good place for him to go. They want good football, and he does play good football, mostly at Brighton, which is like near on where they want to be competing with, sort of thing. So he can bring that. First game, tricky, real tricky. They were quite unlucky, to be fair, especially a couple of Villa's goals. They were quite unlucky, but that's just the nature of the cup. I don't think he's been brought in to do any cup exploits. He's been brought in to help them survive, which, if he can bring that standard football he did, particularly at Brighton and Swansea, again, it's going to be tough because you've got a lot of clubs out there kind of, you've got to put Man United in the bracket as well. And they are looking as if they're working their way out. 2 good results against Arsenal and Liverpool. This may be the little kick on they need. So, if anything, I think he's got it harder because that bracket of clubs of like your West Ham's, Brentford's, Man United's, that's going to get really competitive. So if anything, I think he's got a harder job than what Moyes does, because at least with Moyes, it's a recognised legend. They're bringing in a guy where his last job, it didn't go well. So he needs to hit the ground. I don't know who their first game's again. They got to hit the ground. They got to hit the ground running quick.
I guess for you, Craig, how do you see it playing out with Potter now in the West Ham hot seat?
Well, I think he's had a break from football. I think he's done a lot of like studying and analysing what made wrong at Chelsea. It'll make him a better manager. And he's very fortunate to got a job at West Ham, because West Ham don't keep their managers very long these days. The owners are very trigger happy. If it's not working, get out the door. But I feel like he's a good manager. He never become a bad manager overnight. Didn't work out for him at Chelsea for obvious reasons. I'm not going to go into that, but I feel that like he can do a good job at West Ham, rebuild his reputation. You never know, he could be the future England manager in a few couple. If it does well at West Ham, it could be the England manager a couple of years after Tuchel doesn't do what Tuchel finishes his cycle. He could be the future England manager. You never know. Him or Eddie Howe, I would say, them two are the ones that look at are the bright English managers coming out right now. And I thought he could do it. He could definitely do well at West Ham. But I think the fans have to be patient with expectations. Stay up this season, rebuild for next season, I would say.
Yeah, that's going to be the big game, and we'll see how effective he is at doing that. Obviously, West Ham currently are 14th in the table. Everton are 16th in the table. Everton's next game is against Aston Villa at home, and David Moyes continues on at Potter continues on for West Ham at Fulham at home. So 2 home games to go as we kickstart the return to the Premier League after the Cup weekend. And obviously we've got the little matter of Arsenal against Spurs on Wednesday at the Emirates. So we'll see whether Arteta can shake the cobwebs off the boys and get some extra shooting practice in, and whether we'll get any deals done in that time. There's rumours going around that we had a bid rejected for Dusan Vlahovic. How true that is, I don't know. Juventus are looking to sell. Do we want to get him? I don't know. But it's something. It's something. Again, whether it's true or not, I don't know.
I'll take him, I would take him.
But it's something. It shows that the checkbook might have finally been taken out of the vault and they're ready to make their move. Well, we'll see what happens, and we'll be reacting to that midweek game as well as the game at the weekend. So there's 2 games coming up this week. So Arsenal have Spurs next, and they've got Villa, both games at home. That needs to be a 6 points on the board. Otherwise, it could be in problems. Liverpool, on the flip side, they have Nottingham Forest to start off with as their first game, and then they have Brentford on the weekend. So that could be interesting to see what happens in terms of those results. Obviously for Forest, they have Liverpool, as I said, and they've also got Southampton. So that could be very nice for them. And Chelsea have Bournemouth and then Wolves. So we've all got a couple of interesting fixtures that on a normal, typical season should be simple. But at this season right now, anything can happen. And we will give you the reactions and our thoughts on that in our next episode. Peace out.
Peace.
Peace out.